Well, hello and welcome to Fun Fantasy FPL. My name is Harry,
I'm Stephen Barry.
and on this week we've been blown away. Yes, the puns are going to be there. It's been a stormy game week. Lots of close icy bars. Isn't that what happens? Icy bars, isn't that what they call it? I don't know. Probably making a fool of myself, but no change from the normal, I suppose. But yeah, it's been a tough week. I think it's fair to say. I'm way below the average. But before I go on a small rant, Stephen, tell us, have you had a return this week?
I, Barry, hot off the press.
Oh
Eight
my.
Nori assists, my only return in any way, shape, or form. Otherwise, it was twos and ones across the board. The most disappointing has to be the 1 point for Ollie Watkins. Him not starting against Southampton as my captain. Fucking of all the games to rotate. Emery, to be fair, for the sake of Aston Villa, did choose the right one. They're the worst team in the league. They've got a good backup in Duran, and they won the game. But for my FPL, it was a disaster. Emery, as a lot of Premier League managers have, no respect for fantasy football, as was demonstrated right there.
Yeah, so a great decision for Aston Villa, a terrible decision for your fantasy football team.
Mm.
Yeah, well, my week's relatively similar. I mean, I have out Nori as well, but he was my only third returner of the game week. Um, I had Palmer and Ahmad. I captained Saka, who had a goal chalked offside, was rightly chalked offside, but that would have really made a difference. But the rest just absolutely terrible. And I want to talk about, the free transfers I made. And just as we're recording, the match is now finished between West Ham and Wolves. Perhaps we can talk about that later. It's 2-1
Mm.
West Ham. I believe Jarrod Bowen with two returns, a goal and
He
an
did.
assist. You recommended him, but you didn't bring him in. And again,
Correct.
we can come back to that a bit later. Um, yeah, look. So 2 weeks ago, or say 2 weeks ago, two game weeks ago, so when we recorded this podcast last, I was talking about making free transfers. And I made a transfer of Isaac Watkins and Bruno out for Jackson, Cunha, and Saka. And I thought, Jesus, I've set this team up really well. Over those last two game weeks, the players I brought in scored 9 points plus Cunha's four tonight, so 13 points. But if I had done nothing, Stephen, nothing,
Mm.
I would have 33 points from the players I took out. Uh, it's really hard not to have outcome bias here, but I mean that really, really stings.
Mm.
And I'm regretting a lot of those transfers. I mean, I really wanted Saka. The move was to get Saka in really, but
Mm.
yeah, I'm hurting after that. And then for the games get called off, Merseyside derby as well. No Salah or Robbo for me, meaning my bench was worth about 20 plus million. And I had to make an emergency transfer. When Salah was confirmed not to play, I brought in Ahmad for ML Smith Rowe. I was thinking about getting rid of ML Smith Rowe in a few weeks, but it forced me into the transfer because I didn't really back him at home to Arsenal. Ahmad got an assist, which is great, but I really wanted to
Yep.
bank that transfer. So I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed, Stephen.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you look back at that decision making, why did you make it and what is the lesson learned? I guess the lesson learned is you got rid of Isaac. Even though Newcastle haven't been winning, he's a pretty consistent scorer. Watkins, fair enough, has been up and down. So Jackson, you brought in him for said again, he'd been on a bit of a run. But why Isaac? Why were you? Well, that's
Well,
probably the
he was
decision you can probably.
flagged. He was flagged, wasn't he? He was yellow flagged. He had Liverpool
Mm,
away next. I probably was going to bench him anyway. So I thought, let's free up the funds, and then I can get Saka in, right? And I thought Jackson has been on a good scoring run. I bring him in, he does nothing. He didn't even start against Southampton. 0 points there.
mm,
Out Nori, I'd already had, but Cunha obviously had been, absolutely firing, and he was 7.1 million. I thought that's a bargain. So really it was about a movement of funds to get that midfield of Salah, Palmer, and Saka. And of course, when I'd gone to that position of bringing in those players and taking myself further away from going
mm.
back to a Haaland strategy, Haaland has scored. And it does make me nervous when the robot starts getting up and running. But, do you think it's possible to go that? We asked this question second game week. Right. And we both said, no, it's impossible. You must have Haaland and Salah in your team. But here I am without Haaland, and I'm worried, Stephen. I'm worried.
Really? I don't think it's panic stations yet. They drew to Crystal Palace, who we've not been the biggest fans of. We haven't been the biggest fan of Chelsea either, and that's backfired a little bit. Um,
Yeah,
Pep's head loss is one of the most dramatic in Premier League history.
it's fun to watch.
It is. I mean, his it's Rico Lewis is sort of on par with Kevin Keegan's. I'd love it if we beat them sort of level of just delusion and craziness. Not as entertaining as Kevin Keegan's one, but still in terms of
Yeah,
pure insanity. Um, well, I mean, I think we can't not talk about it. The Manchester Derby is next.
yeah, big.
Um, my friend, I think, put it very well. Can Man U slow down enough for Manchester City not to catch them? It is just as Man City start doing terribly, Man U find a way of being worse, and it's genuinely incredible.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that manager bounce was about as. I mean, I don't know if you follow. There's a good Instagram account. It's called FPL Simpsons or EFL Simpsons, something like that.
Yeah,
And they did this one of Homer jumping out of the burning building, landing on a mattress, then bouncing back into the burning building, and that was the
yeah.
manager bounce for Man United. So it was very funny. But no, let's not shit on Man United too much because I mean we can definitely talk about that game if that's one of the games you want to focus on. But I mean, to be honest, the game I want to focus on is Brentford and Newcastle at the
Yep.
moment because I mean Brentford, I mean their home record is ridiculous. They can't win
Yeah, yeah.
away, can't catch a win away. But I mean, beating Newcastle 4-2, have just drawn 3-3 against Liverpool, who I believe will be the champions. You know, like it's mental.
Mm.
I mean, what's to say? Like, you know, they just keep scoring goals for fun. Kevin Shardo, who got a hat trick in the week, or hat trick the week before, whenever he was benched, comes on, scores. Brian Mbemba gets a goal and an assist. Mark Flecken gets
I
an
know. I
assist.
knew that was coming.
Oh God, when I saw
I
that, it
knew.
warmed my heart, Stephen. It warmed my heart. Um, but yeah, I mean, look, what can we say about Brentford? Are they a team we can depend upon? Because obviously you can't bring a player in and say, right, I'm going to start him when he's at home and I'm going to bench him when he's away, unless he's maybe a defender or a goalkeeper. Like, what do we do with them as an FPL asset or FPL assets, rather?
I think you sort of can. I mean, it's Rambo's price is obviously gone up to 7.6, but that's still not huge. Worcester's only 6.2. Worcester you can definitely just have there as a
I
play
do
him when
like
you
Wissa.
want in and rotate him when you want. Especially as a lot of the high price forwards aren't particularly interesting right now. Obviously Haaland is always going to be on your radar. Um, but a lot of them. Watkins is probably off the boil. Isaac is always injured. Havertz, I think, is probably too expensive now, though he's scoring. So I think, and also, I know you're worried about Haaland. I still don't think you need to have him. If you are looking for a Haaland strategy, you're going to need a Wissa and maybe a Jamie Vardy,
Yeah,
who
yeah.
again, that was the fixture I wanted to talk about. Have Leicester turned the corner? No, but
But is
just
selling him
watching.
your biggest mistake?
Oh yeah, I mean, why? See, why did I do that? I just think if you just Rude has the more playing a bit more attacking, I would say, and Jimmy
Mm.
Vardy is still proven at this level and for the price. So you could have a front three of Wissa, Haaland, and Vardy, and be very happy with that, and then deploy and then get. To be frank, the reason why you need to do that is that still gives you money to get Salah, Palmer, and Saka basically.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and then if you want Mbembo as well, but I think Wissa, yeah, he might be a must-have after Kuna plays Ipswich. That Kuna to Worcester seems like a very very easy transfer to do.
What is Wolves' fixtures after that? They absolutely terrible.
Well, the reason I'm a bit concerned about them is it sounds like Gary O'Neill's going. This was El Sakiko.
Where have you heard that?
I mean, it's been everywhere. Yeah, Gary O'Neill, like the fans have turned
You said the
against
same
him.
thing about Lopetegui last week, and
But
he's
but he
managed.
didn't. No, but he
He's,
won. He won. He won. I told you, he wins the games that keeps him above water. He'll then lose, and then it's just a cycle. So he's won a game that he had to win.
well,
Yeah.
I think Wolves have got at least three. The three next fixtures are pretty winnable fixtures. They've got Ipswich at home, Leicester away, Man United at home. You can see them getting 9 points against in that run quite easily. Man United at
Oh,
home, Thursday night, 5:30. That's a game Man United lose. You know it is. Like it's
yeah.
written in the stars that they lose that game. So Cunha's, he loves trolling big, clubs like, oh, he's got Tottenham away, so he might win that one as well, which is fucking,
Yeah.
God, don't get me started
Look,
on that.
I guess see what happens and see who they get. But like literally, Barry, if you type in Gary O'Neill, the first thing that comes up is Locatelli and O'Neill before stay focused before El Saki Co. Two
Else.
managers go in on Monday, but there's a feeling that only one may come out.
Okay. Well, I think that I think that's being real harsh because he had a really tough start to the season, I mean, look, the opening fixtures were ridiculous. And Arsenal away, Chelsea at home, Forest away, which we didn't think would be a difficult one, but then
Mm.
Newcastle at home, Aston Villa away, Liverpool away, Brentford away, Man City at home, Brighton away. I mean, that first 9 fixtures, I mean, they will get one draw in all of those games, and I think they were quite lucky to get one draw, to be honest.
Yeah.
Two draws, two draws, and that was against Brighton and Forest. The rest of them, absolutely reasonable losses, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, so I would be a bit heartbroken if they did because I think he deserves better than that. He got done over at Bournemouth, and then he's gone to Wolves. He's done an okay job. He gets a team that attacks and plays well. They've been screwed over by a few refereeing decisions as well. I would be very. I know they're in the middle. I know they're in the bottom three, but there are shitter teams above them that could fall down. So I hope they stick with them.
Well, let's see. But let's see. Let's see who they get.
But
Let's see
why
if
do
they
you think
get
that will
somebody.
affect Wolves players? Because as we've seen, the new manager bounce always can work unless you're Man
Well,
United.
yeah. Well, that's well, yeah. Me and Manu are just immune to anything good, basically. But yeah, no, just simply new manager bounce. I mean, Ruiz come in, Leicester look a bit better again. Honestly,
Yeah,
I
Leicester. I
do think
mean,
it's a
Leicester were
similar.
nowhere. We were thinking Leicester are gone, they're
Yeah,
done, and all we needed was someone that wasn't, managing at Man United, and they did well. You
yeah.
know, that's it.
Just like
Um,
I think this sort of week has implied that trying to actually predict things based on the news can be very powerful. You were right to transfer out and get those Ahmad points, but you didn't follow the Isak news closely enough where he did a full page interview saying he was going to start that game. So it
where
is
did he
quite
do
a
that? No,
he
sorry,
did
Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe said he was not ready. Eddie Howe's
he did an
press con-
interview. He did an
press
interview saying he was
Eddie's
going to
press
play.
conference. No, sorry, I'm not taking this. Eddie's press conference said he was not sure the guy could play.
Yeah, but we already discussed this that manager press conferences mean nothing and that they are
Yeah.
intentionally. Barry, you follow all the FPL people. Everyone was like saying, "Look at this interview of Isak. He looks ready to go," and he started.
Yeah, I know, but I wanted Saka. And Saka's next couple of fixtures are quite tasty, to be honest. I mean, Everton at home, Palace away, Ipswich at home. I'm quite happy with those. Um, Having said all that, I'm going to captain Salah every single game week going forward, especially
Yeah.
against Tottenham in 2 weeks' time. Oh, Christ, I don't really want to talk about the Tottenham game, but do you want to talk about the Tottenham game?
So I actually missed it. So that
Okay,
was unfortunate.
good.
Considering it's always the greatest game ever. Chelsea Tottenham it always delivers. I've seen the highlights. I mean the Cucurella slips were genuinely hilarious. I
Yeah.
like the person who taped over Jamie Carragher's commentary to the Gerrard slip when they lost the title for
Oh
the
yeah,
Denver Park.
I did
That
see
was
that. Yeah,
outstanding.
that's funny.
Whoever's doing that, you're doing the Lord's work there. Um, but no, I said I didn't watch the game, so I don't have much to say. Barry, what would you like to say about the game?
I would say that Tottenham fans are the worst people to listen to after we lose a game. Honestly, I know that football fans in general are pretty dramatic. But my goodness me, I mean, I've never seen so many blokes just completely fold on one another immediately.
Mm.
Um, I don't really know what to make of it. I mean, I don't know how we've managed it. We've become super Spursy, not like
Mm.
Spursy of old, where not like lasagna gate level Spursy. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
like
yeah.
we are Spursy beyond anything you could imagine. I mean, I don't even know what our next fixtures are, to be honest. But I mean, literally, we could play against some of the best teams in the world and somehow perform, and then we go to Bournemouth and lose. Now, Bournemouth are a good team. But any team in the Premier League, if you play with that defensive mindset, you will lose those games. Simple. And I don't really want to click on the, Jamie Carragher, you've got to change your mindset. If it's raining outside, I'm not going to wear shorts. I mean, that's not
Yeah.
necessarily. That analogy was really fucking lazy. It really pissed me off. I was like, I broadly like him as like a commentator, but that analogy was really fucking lazy because look, if I was playing Man City tomorrow, like if I was managing a lower league team or whatever, I'd be like, let's go for it. Let's just go for it because you never know, right?
Mm.
You might as well. You might as well try, give it a go because if you just slowly let them break you down, eventually you're going to get killed anyway. So I don't necessarily buy into that. And I like the fact he's given us, something to cheer about Postecoglou. But uh, the only thing I will say is, we were 2-0 up in that game. We were 2-0 up. And the Basuma challenge for one of the penalties was just
Yeah.
fucking mental. It was just like the guy wasn't going to control the ball. He pulled out the challenge and it would have been fine. He just
Yeah.
honestly, it's complete head loss. And I don't know whether it's a team mentality thing or whether it's just, Postecoglou mentality thing that things just go for it or whatnot. But yeah, I don't like where we're going. I think we're not going to do anything crazy this season. I've always said, top four would be a dream, would be an absolute massive overachievement for the squad. Um, but where we are is worse than it's worst of all worlds. We're playing amazing, playing good football. We're not being smart about it, and then we're losing either teams we shouldn't lose or in manners that we shouldn't lose. No Premier League team should lose like
Yeah.
that. This shouldn't happen. Like, and it's just a mentality thing. So it's really pissed me off. And the
Yeah.
poster no clue thing that's going around on Twitter and stuff, I just think that's not helpful either. Like, I broadly want them to stick with the manager, and I don't want to get rid of him by any chance, by any means, because like, I mean, who the fuck's out there? Graham Potter, like, come on, behave. Like,
Yeah.
it's. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do as a Spurs fan. Just continue this endless pain, or what's happening?
Well, okay, let's maybe to just focus your mind a little bit more. From an FPL perspective, what are you saying? Should you have, is there any Spurs assets you must have that you would say?
No,
Kulusevski, maybe?
there's no must-haves. I would say Brendan Johnson at a stretch. Pedro Porro is not worth the money.
Yeah. He will get the odd assist, but the amount of goals he'll concede, it's too risky.
Yeah.
But would you say then that if you're playing a terrible team, that you should back the team that has those players? Because Barry, you have
Southampton
Southampton.
away next game. I know, and do you know it's the last game of the game week? And
Yeah.
it's at 7 p.m. at their place.
And it's happening. He is selling Antonio, who obviously is very sadly been involved in a car crash. I hope it's
Yeah.
nothing too serious for him. But
He could be
Antonio's
out
been
for a
transferred.
year. That's what I've heard.
Oh
Out for
wow,
years, operation, broken leg, everything. I mean, the car. I don't
poor
know. I
guy.
mean, the pictures of the car looked. I mean, fucking hell. The fact he's
Yeah,
managed to get out of there. I mean,
yeah,
I know
exactly. It is. Yeah,
rivalry.
exactly.
I know rivalries and all that, but I mean, I think Antonio's a decent bloke, and
Yeah,
deserves to get better and get back on the field. But I mean, at 35, you do fear for his future football
yeah.
career.
As
Mental.
I
But
said, at least he got out,
yeah,
and I'll be
exactly that.
transferring him out for Archer at Southampton. It is
Fucking
being
hell,
done.
mate.
Another rogue transfer live on the podcast. You've absolutely convinced me. They're going to lose that game, and
And
it's done.
Archer is on penalties, and with Basuma's challenging going in like that, Jesus. No, honestly, that game
Mm.
could be mental. I mean, we could win 5-2 or lose 1-0. Like honestly, I can't call it. Um, and then we got Liverpool at home, who are a bit of our bogey team, but that's a Sunday. Maybe we can pull something together. Um, and then we've got Forest away, we'll probably lose that. Wolves at home, probably lose that. I don't know. I think if you're going to buy any Spurs players, I go for Brendan Johnson. I wouldn't look at anyone else. Son's too expensive. I'd rather have Bruno Fernandes than Son, which is saying something in itself. Um, and then Chelsea, obviously we talk about their depth in the squad there. Neto played nearly a full game. Sancho did play a full game and scored. I mean, does Sancho? I mean, obviously, if you own Palmer, I wouldn't go double Chelsea midfield. But would you be tempted by
Why
Sancho
not?
if you didn't have him?
No, I
Uh,
mean, Chelsea second midfielders are pretty cheap. The only concern I would have is like who's starting. It was Madueke for a while, but he got rotated.
yeah.
Yeah, I would say for their price, they're very appealing. The only problem is that, and if I look through my midfield, I've got Matoma, Gordon, and Cliver. I would say any Chelsea midfield's probably ahead of Cliver. He's just in there because of a good fixture run, but I'd rather have him over Semenyo, for example.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
no, I think I mean Palmer's obviously a must, and any other any other Chelsea midfielder. I mean, or Jackson actually. Jackson's probably a safer bet given that he starts. I know
I've
he's
got
not had the
Jackson
best run.
already. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you have Palmer and Jackson, I think that's what you need Chelsea wise. I mean, Cole, I think is quite cheap and he starts. Gusto, I think got injured. I quite like him, but I think Cole was the cheapest starter for them and is pretty
Mm.
good. Um, but yeah, I think Jackson and Palmer are probably the only Chelsea assets to look at.
Agreed.
Sancho would be interesting though. If he keeps placing the team, he is an interesting asset to have.
Yeah, 6 million, only 1% owned. I mean,
Yeah.
I quite like that. Again, another player that's left yet Man United and managed to turn his fortunes around.
Well, that is his only goal so far this season, I think. But he
No,
also hasn't been playing.
he scored against Southampton, and
Oh, did he?
he got a couple of assists early on in the season.
Yeah.
He looks like he's doing all right, but yeah, I mean, the other, I mean, one more game we'll talk about would be the Aston Villa game. You've mentioned it already, bringing in or having Watkins and
Yeah.
captaining him. I mean, we talked a bit about this off air, but that shows why I think it's really important to be careful about the players you bring in involved in European
Mm.
fixtures. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a minefield. I mean, it makes it interesting because it means you can go for players in other in sort of clubs that don't have a European football, so look at more interesting picks. Um, but are you starting to question your Aston Villa, you know, your Aston Villa man that you have in your squad? You know,
Yeah, basically. I don't see he'll be there for very long. Um, if I'm going cheap forwards like Archer and stuff like that, I'm potentially considering Haaland again as a differential.
he's
Sort of
dropped to
building.
nearly 40% owned now. You know that.
Yeah. And oh Man City next. Can I get him actually? If I sell Watkins, can I get him? I think I'm just short, you know.
This is
Um,
live thinking on the podcast. It's not
no, I
something we're
can't
used
get.
to.
I can't get him unfortunately. But I'm not a million miles away. I've got people like Stones who are just a drag on my budget and Odegaard. No, actually, I don't keep Odegaard for a while. But either way, I'm not a million miles away from getting him.
So if he scored at United,
I think that game is going to be 0-0.
yeah,
I
it's gonna be so shit.
Yeah.
We just know it is.
Yeah, I think both teams are going to be too scared to play, and I think that's just going to be a very drab 0-0. I remember one of the worst games football I ever watched was Man U Arsenal. It was Aubameyang scored a goal that was like 20 miles onside, but it was given offside. VAR overruled it. I remember being a pub with half Man U and half Arsenal fans, and it was just so depressing. No one celebrated when either team scored. There was no banter. There was no rivalry. It was just all of us looking at each other about how we fallen. I think that game is gonna be like that.
Yeah.
I think the interesting game to target would actually be Newcastle Leicester in terms of forwards. Arsenal have Everton. We don't like Dyche, and Dyche likes ruffling us, so maybe avoid Arsenal for that. Um, Honestly, actually, I think it's Chelsea assets to be fair. Chelsea at home to Brentford. Brentford, even when they're good, they can't keep a clean sheet. Um, Bournemouth will probably batter West Ham, I guess, under the lights. They'd be the fixtures that I would look at next, basically, alongside Southampton attackers, of course.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, yeah. I mean, I don't think I'm going to do much this week in terms of bringing any players in. But you have actually done the transfer,
Oh
Antonio to
yeah,
Archer.
yeah,
Great, and that's before the Champions League is going to kick off later this week. You're
yeah,
aware of that, right? Okay, cool. So my advice
yeah.
to you, listeners, is don't do a Stephen. Remember that all the time. Never do a Stephen.
Mm.
It's good motto. Maybe this should be the title of this podcast. Never do a Stephen. I don't know. I was quite attached to Blown Away, so maybe we'll keep that. But yeah, look, I think with the European fixtures, then I think it's really a watch and wait. De Bruyne starting again, getting a goal. I would not recommend as an asset, but I'd keep an eye on that. Not because of, and I think this is where it's interesting. It's not about what it does for, not about him being an asset, but does he make other players bigger assets? That's the question. Like, does it make Haaland a bigger asset? Does it make, other players in that squad
Mm.
less so? And I think De Bruyne whipping in crosses and all the rest of it, or creating opportunities in space. Does that mean that there's more space for Haaland? A bit like the Odegaard Saka sort of
Yeah, yeah.
discussion, you know. So yeah, something to watch. So you brought in Archer. I'm not going to do anything this week. So let's talk about players to watch for next game week. Is there any players outside of obviously the magnificent Archer? Are there any other players that you
Yes.
wish you owned? Players that you think they're going to bang this week?
Trent or Robbo, I know it's obvious, but just any of the Liverpool backline. Canate is the second. Is he injured? Who's the other
I
one
think
next
he's
to
still
Virgil?
injured. Yeah, still injured.
So who is it? Quanta who's playing for them?
No, Gomez.
Gomez. Yeah, fine. So I mean, depending on what funds you need available, just have a Liverpool defender. Depending on what the rest of your team is. I know Trent's very expensive, but he's probably going to be worth the money. As an obvious one. What would be like a middling one? Actually, Bournemouth, to be fair, Semenyo, Cliver.
Yeah.
I know West Ham have just won, but they're now going to lose badly again. I'm going to put my man Jamie Vardy back in there as well. He's got to be the best of points per million, right? He might be up there,
He might be,
maybe.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
he got a goal and assist this week. Is that
yeah,
right?
yeah. And he can still finish. And my outside shouts obviously would be Archer, and then what else would be a bit of a rogue one? Ooh, I
Go
mean,
on.
I'm just,
You've thought you've
I
thought
know,
of someone. You're too scared to say it.
I'm just trying to work out if Wolves Ipswich is no, that's no, I think just the magnificent Archer. Um,
Nice.
yeah, bow and arrow, mate.
Right now, right. Okay. Well, I've got a rogue one. I'm gonna start with the rogue one because that's
Okay.
one at first. So I mentioned him before, but if you are on Son, right, and I did say I'd rather go to Bruno Fernandes, but I've just seen that Kevin De Bruyne is on the same price as Son,
Wow.
9.5 million, which I think is the cheapest I've ever seen him in the game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's 5.5% owned. So my caveat to this is wait. God help you wait for the Champions League. Wait till that's finished. Let's assume De Bruyne doesn't play a single minute, is wrapped up in cotton wool, stays at home in Manchester, doesn't move anywhere, doesn't go anywhere, doesn't
Yeah.
pass go. He's there. I think at home to Man United, I know you think it's gonna be a bit of a shit game, and I probably agree with you, but De Bruyne is a game changer. If you're
Mm.
fancying a risk, I like it. I like it. Bring in Kevin De Bruyne. Um, yeah, players I think is not that mental. I do like the Bournemouth shout. And if you don't have Semenyo, I'd go for Clivert over Semenyo probably just because he's on pens.
Yeah.
That's the only reason really. And yeah, I hate to say it, I still want to back Wolves. I still want to back Wolves. But for punishment, even though they've only got like a couple of nice fixtures left, I would say that Cunha might be a someone to bring in as a set and forget. If he comes back and starts scoring again, I think he can score in any game. He loves the big games. So Cunha would be my banker, which is weird to say. But I think Ipswich at home, they've got to bang that game, haven't they? They just have to. There's no
Yeah.
other option for them. So yeah, I've still got Gabriel on my team. I'm hoping he plays Everton at home. Um, so yeah, let's see. But those would be my choices. What do you think? Am I mental for thinking about De Bruyne?
I I think I think the fact that your rogue shout is one of the best players the Premier League has ever seen, I think says a
Yeah.
lot about your your
Yeah.
definition of rogue. But
Well, it's rogue because he
I
doesn't play. Like, and if he doesn't play, that's an expensive hole on your budget. Do you know what I mean? That's what it is.
yeah, fine. But yeah, no, I hear you.
De Bruyne is going to score and get an assist at the weekend. That's the clip. De Bruyne is
Yeah.
going to score and get an assist. And everyone's going to be laughing that owns him, and everyone that's not, including probably myself, is going to be like, see, Harry said on Fun Fantasy FPL podcast, this is the thing to do.
Hmm.
Yeah. I say that with
Okay.
very little confidence, but there we
And
go.
I'm going to shoot down your opinion.
Nice. Good. As always. It's good to see.
Yeah. It makes
Um,
you feel about it makes you feel about I'm not captaining him. I'm not that bold, but
you're not captaining Kevin De Bruyne.
no Archer.
Okay, okay. Oh, go on. That'd
Although
be fun. Do
yeah,
it for the viewers. Do it for the
uh,
viewers. Okay, if I
no,
put
I
a
think
poll out, if I put a poll out on FPL Twitter or Instagram and they say yes, you have to do it.
I would want 500 likes or something.
500 likes. Okay, we heard it here. I'll try to organize that. I'm not sure how. I
Yeah,
think our most amount of likes has been 4, but we'll give it
yeah.
a go. Okay, cool. Right. So we're coming towards the end. So we're going to do our question. Stephen, you have a question from last week, hopefully. I'm hoping. And I have a question for this week. I've actually done some work on this week's question.
Oh wow.
Would you believe it? I took your
Yeah,
feedback on board.
there you
Um,
go.
so yeah, Stephen, why don't you remind us of the question and what the answer was, please?
The question was who has won the fourth amount of Premier League games, and it's Everton. Now, obviously, they've never
The
been
Toffees.
relegated from the Premier League, but you still would have thought by now that they've won more than Newcastle. Who've obviously, but I've been up there been it for a while. Well,
Man
but Man City
City.
have a lot,
Well,
of seasons,
Tottenham.
but Tottenham, yeah, mental, like absolutely mental.
There's only 5 teams that have never been relegated. I think it's Tottenham, Everton, Liverpool, Man United, and Arsenal.
Yeah,
That's the
from the
5
Prem.
for the Premier.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty mental considering where they are and their new beautiful stadium that looked like it was underwater the other day. Um, so yeah, I mean it doesn't look like they're going to get relegated this season. But it's always fun to imagine that being so.
Yep.
But good question. So my question is actually weather related.
Oh, right, okay.
Um, so I did look at like how many games were actually cancelled in history due to weather. And there's actually not that many.
Wow.
So I thought a more fun one would be how many games, including the Welsh Premier and the Welsh North and South League, how many
Wow.
football games were cancelled due to Storm Dara over the weekend? So that's Premier League,
Okay.
Championship, League One, League Two, the Welsh Premier, Welsh North, and Welsh South. I won't inflict it and ask you to do the conference either. So it's English leagues, League Two up, and then the top 3 Welsh leagues.
By implication, that you're saying that the Welsh Premier and the Welsh Second Division are greater leagues than the English Conference, which I think is a bit of a bold statement.
It's more that I can't find data on the conference.
Okay,
It's
I'll give
it's
you that.
lazy data gathering and nothing more. And I say that to anyone that supports the conference team, Tommy C included. Torquay United are obviously
He doesn't support a
a
conference team. He supports a conference south team.
conference. Oh, that sorry, yes, I should say that. Yes, yellows. I mean,
Hmm.
absolutely understand that. Understand that. No, I'm not saying that. It's purely I can't find the data. It's not come
Fair
out
enough.
of. It's not come out from the southwest yet. So yeah. So which how many games were cancelled due to Storm Dora
Uh,
over the weekend? A quick Google, you'll be able to find it. Please don't give your guesses.
yeah,
And yeah, let us know what you think on that. So yeah, I think that concludes everything. I'm not going to make any wild transfers because I think there is a phrase over tinkering. It does exist.
yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
going to stop tinkering with my team and leave it, let it lie for a bit and try
Yeah.
and recover. I've lost 120,000 places this week.
Wow.
And yeah, so nothing else left. It leaves me to say thank you very much for listening and watching. Please give us a like and a subscribe on wherever you listen to the podcast. Follow our Instagram and Twitter, especially if you want to make Stephen Captain Cameron Archer at home to Spurs.
Hmm.
And of course, as always, we thank our producer Rita, who has now, I
Mm.
forgot to mention this, overtaken me in
Yeah.
fantasy football. I'm gutted. Absolutely gutted. She is now 7 points ahead of me. Gutted. Actually, might be
Where is
more
she?
now.
Where is she in the world?
She must be in top 100 and 150k, maybe 160k. I would have thought.
Yeah.
And we should also give a shout out just quickly whilst I'm on the FPL mini league. If you haven't joined, please do. Jake is now top of that league with a massive 75 points this week.
You
Probably
got
going to
you got
be a few more with it's going to be more because he's got Raul Jimenez coming off the
yeah.
bench and Dunk 9 points coming off that bench. So he's going to be on 84 points this week. Massive congratulations. I thought I was chasing him down, but I'm now 30 points off him. Gutted.
Yeah. Got the captaincy right and has kept Mbembo. A lot of people were moving off him, but
Yeah,
he
I
saw
know.
the light.
But West Brom are winless in 11, so that's funny. Anyway, so thank you very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. And yeah, good luck in the next game week.
Thank you.